You're listening to the Roofing Success Podcast, a show created to inspire roofing contractors to achieve optimal success in their roofing businesses. I'm the host, Jim Moline, the co-author of the book, Internet Marketing for Roofing Contractors, How to Triple Your Sales and Turn Your Roofing Website into an Online Lead Generation Machine. I'm also the co-founder of Roofer Marketers, the digital marketing agency for the roofing industry. On each episode, I'll be sitting down with industry leaders to talk about their processes, the lessons they've learned, and how to find success in roofing. Hey, welcome to another episode of the Roofing Success Podcast. As always, please share, comment, like, subscribe, wherever you're listening, whether it's on the podcast networks or on YouTube. And also, if you want to continue the conversation beyond listening to the podcast, go to Facebook, type in Roofing Success, and join the Roofing Success Facebook group. Today, another successful contractor. We get to talk to a lot of them. It's becoming a trend here at the Roofing Success Podcast, but really excited to talk to this guy because he does this every shingle day. That's John Broce from MHI Roofing and Ugly Roof, man. How you doing today, brother?
Good, man. Good. Thanks for having us on, man.
I love that. I love the tagline.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, we trademarked it there just 2 years ago, actually.
That's awesome.
It just became fun.
Awesome.
So, yeah, it's fun stuff.
That's awesome. So mainly out of the Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania area, go down to West Virginia a little bit, and other things. How'd you guys get started with MHI? Meredith Home Improvement is what it started with as, right?
Yeah, so it was Meredith Home Improvements from 1979 all the way up to 2019. So been in Pittsburgh for 42 years. My partner Ty, it was actually in his family. So his last name is Meredith. So we pulled the Meredith name through. I think he inherited the company in 2011, somewhere in there, 2010, 11. And then just been rolling ever since. When I came on board in 2019, we wanted to hyper focus and kind of get out of the decks and windows and siding and all the other stuff that just takes you forever to get paid on. So we rebranded to MHI Roofing. We actually doubled sales the first year by cutting all products. It was kind of crazy and fun, but yes, that's kind of how the brand got to where it is now. And we do cover Pittsburgh is our main office. The northeast part of West Virginia, north part of West Virginia, northeast of Ohio, and we also have a location in Florida, which it's just for fun. It's just go down in the wintertime, do 50 to 60 roofs and go back home.
Escape the Midwest winters for a little bit.
Exactly, 100%.
Awesome, man. Well, that's something that I think a lot of contractors struggle with, or a lot of contractors, I think, up front try to do too much, right? They want to take on, in the beginning, you want to take in any cash flow that you can, right? When you're starting a business. And Meredith was more established, but for a lot of people, they're trying to do doors, windows, they'll do anything.
Right.
How was that transition that you're like, hey, we're going to cut these products out, just go down and focus on roofing first? Do you do any siding? Do you do any windows, or do you just market roofing first and then you'll do those if it comes up?
Yeah, that's a good question. So we literally cut out all the product itself. So only like siding that we do still occasionally do windows and siding, but it has to be involved with the roof project. So there's always dormers and sidewalls and end walls that you got to tear the siding off of. Properly flash and all that stuff. So if we got to get into that, then yes, we'll do the siding on the house. It's just not a mainline product. Same thing with the windows. We just did a project just a couple of weeks ago where the windows and the skylights were all as one, and so it was part of the roof. So we had to do some windows there, but pretty much we just streamlined it, man. Just went straight after roofing, roof repairs, roof rejuvenation, all things roofs. That's just who we wanted to be.
That's awesome. And you said that business increased
increased. Yeah. So anytime that you can hyper focus, that's what, because it's kind of like when you think of Apple, right? They're really hyper focused on what their products are. That's they've got an iPhone, they've got a couple. I mean, but they don't really have a whole lot of other products. MacBook, they've got like a product line of like 6 products, and they're one of the largest in the world. But for us, it was what are we good at, what are we great at, and what do we want to do. So the cool part was what we're great at and what we want to do was roofing. So it's, and when you start looking at dollars per day, that's how we measure things, right? It's like how much money can we make net sales as dollars per day? With James Hardy, we were for 5 years before I got here, we were one of the largest guys in the Northeast. Like we're doing $3, $4, $5 million a year and Hardy, right? But our dollars per day was minuscule. Like we're making like $500 to $800 a day to do a Hardy project. So if you do an $80,000 project, it's going to take you 10 days to do it and do it right. So by the time if you break down what your profit is, that $8,000, let's say that you're making, the 10% on it, that $8,000 that you make over a 10-day period, it's $800. So we just weren't making enough money to justify it. And then it's more of a finished carpentry product, right? So people want it to be exactly perfect. We're not saying that we didn't do great work. It was just out of if you do 2 people out of 100 that are not happy, it takes you a lot to make them happy because you're looking at $80,000 projects. So.
Yeah, I love that. The dollars per day.
Yep.
That's a really great way to look at things. And we're all, a lot of times we're focused on that, gross revenue goal for the year. And then you get to the end of the year and you do your books, and that's where you figure out what you made. Right.
Yep.
So you guys seem to be hyper focused on that dollars per day. How do you manage that on a weekly basis? Is that something that you're tracking and communicating to the team on a regular basis? How are you guys, how do you have that built into your process?
So that's a great question. So it's more of a KPI, right? So I look at each crew, right? So which we've got 4 repair crews. So if we go to the repair and the rejuvenation side within MHI, each one of those crews needs to bring us revenue. So I hit revenue that they can look at. I don't want them to know the profits, but the revenue goal per crew is $8,000 a day, right? So they usually hit about 6,500 to 8,000. So we've brought it down to about 7,200. But when you look at that, so we look at per team, I need $7,000 a day in revenue in repairs and rejuvenation. When it comes to the other side of it with replacement roofs, we're doing the same thing per crew. So each crew has to bring in $10,000 a day on the revenue side. And then when you break that down, if you break it down to on the revenue side, this is where that, our whole model changed over the past 18 months. But so if you think about installing a roof, right, at $10,000 for an average roof size, let's say, if you make 10%, a normal is between 8 and 14. But I'm talking net after everything's paid.
Yep.
Everybody's got their salaries. We want to make $1,000 per day per crew. That's what we're looking for on the replacement side. But the reverse side of this with repair crews is we want to make $2,500 to $3,000 per day per crew. So when you think about the margins, that's where the business models change some too. It's incredible to think about. So that's how that we kind of do our measurements now is dollars per day per crew, the revenue versus the profitability. So
yeah, that's awesome, man. And so to get to that revenue per day, you got to make those phones ring.
100%. Yeah. 100%.
Right. So, and
that's the fun part.
You guys do a lot of cool stuff, and your branding is on point, and and you're doing a lot of things for marketing. Right. What are some of the things that you feel are working best for you right now for marketing because if you're keeping those crews busy, you need them, you need that business coming in.
Right.
You're
So, yeah. So, without giving a plug to Jim here, because this is before I even knew Jim, we literally had an omnipresent framework. Like
yeah,
our marketing was a plethora of everything. People were like, why do you do direct mail? It doesn't work for me. Why do you do Facebook ads? It doesn't work for me. Why are you on TV? It doesn't work. You're right. It doesn't work in and of itself. But
yeah,
when you put it together and have hyper focused campaigns, to me, that's really where it happens. So when I first got here, my partner Tom, I mean, he was running a business, doing good and making money, right? But he was kind of stuck in the same rut as most guys, right? Is home advisor leads, Angie's List leads, buying these leads, and our cost per acquisition was over $500. It was like 512, 513. And by being able to do things like, I'll throw some shameless plugs here, right? Is like with Dope Marketing, like we are 100% integrated and automated. I mean, when Dave came out with that concept, I was like the first guy, like, yep, I'm in. Like, I want to do this. And so we adopted it early. And then, so like throughout the whole process now, we're sending out postcards at different stages. But also during those stages, I'm also doing targeted Facebook ads that are wrapped around what that postcard says. So it's like the Joseph Hughes approach of that geo targeting, which we were already doing that, right? Really just targeting that. Then we, by the time that we got that rolling, now I'm doing Facebook ads and the direct mailers, and then I've got get the referrals. So my guys love that app because they can see their referrals grow, and then now they're making advocates out there in the market space, and that's really the main thing. I mean, other than the website, the Google, the LSA, I mean, all that stuff is coming in. Like that's still probably overall 60% of our leads, right? I mean, our website does and performs pretty well. But TV is a caveat. Like it's one of those, like, how do you measure it? So I don't have the direct measurement for it, but I do have indirect. So all my other campaigns is because now you become that dominant authority in the marketplace. Like I see you guys everywhere because they do. They see the Facebook ad, they see the postcards, they see the door hanger, they see the yard sign, the truck, the TV. They see us everywhere, and it works. So that's the thing, is like, it's not just one thing. So it's very hard to measure. But the thing I can measure is my CPA now. It's down around 245. So we've cut it in half. So our marketing budget was around 8 to 8.5%. I'm now down to right in that 4.5%. Right.
Yeah, 4.5% mark.
Yeah.
That's a sweet spot for sure.
Yeah.
And that like we've talked about this, and that's how we kind of got to know each other, was because I share that same, our agency shares that same approach, that omnipresent approach. And it's not just digital, it's offline, it's online. There's all of the things that go together. And it, I think that's where people get hung up a lot of times. They're trying to hit that perfect customer acquisition cost or a low customer acquisition cost with one thing.
You can't.
Right. It's so challenging to do that. And you mentioned a few different people, right? Like Jamie with Get the Referrals, that is an amazing app that works, right? If you work it.
Yep.
The postcards that Dope Marketing are doing work if you work it. But then you mentioned Joseph Hughes too, and his Facebook strategies and the geo targeting and things like that. They all work in themselves. But when you combine everything together,
that's where it explodes, man.
It doesn't even so it's challenging I know. I mean, you came into working with an established company, right? You guys had revenue. You had revenue. So when you have revenue, sometimes it's easier to make those adjustments. Right. When where you already had an 8.5% marketing budget, right? Now you're working on how to make that more efficient. For a contractor starting out, where do you think they should start? Maybe when someone, I have an opinion that a new startup, someone that knows how to sell, they can get their company to 1.5, maybe 2 million, almost by themselves, just grinding it out. You know what I mean? Like, doing some marketing things, but they don't really have to, they don't need a full approach to get to that level. But now they have some money to invest. When they're hitting that $1.5 million, $2 million mark, where do you think that, what takes them to 5, in your opinion?
So I'll back up one step if you don't mind. So I think that if there's 2 to 3 things that guys should be doing, even at the $500,000 stage, right? So the way that we even budget is just like with the Facebook ads and the postcards. Like Facebook ads, I'm only spending $15 a job. I'm spending $5 an ad. I'm learning how to layer those. That's not a whole lot of money, and that's per job. That's not on the front end. That's on.
That's right.
I know I got revenue coming. When it comes to the postcards, you could do the same thing on a smaller scale. I mean, if they're $1 a postcard, right? And now you're going to go out and let's say that you send out 150 postcards total. Now I'm $165 per sold job. That's the way I look at it.
Yeah.
So, but that's going to bring it you anymore. So if you're able to do that and you're a door knocking company already and canvassing and knocking on the doors that you're already in that neighborhood, like we have a canvassing thing that I've used for years. Like I hate knocking on doors, but it does work. So I created a 6, 12, and 24 pack. So 6-pack is like at the appointment, like, the company gives you an appointment. You go see the 6 closest people and say, hey, listen, I just want to make sure I'm parked okay. I'm getting ready to meet with Mr. and Mrs. Jones and look at their roof. I don't sell them nothing. Like it's customer service approach, right? I sell the job. I plant the yard sign. I mean, these are just things that I came up with over, years of time with this. But I plant the yard sign. I should print off just small flyers, like 5 cents each, right? By the time I say, hey, listen, I'll be in the neighborhood here soon. I'd pass out 50 of those, right? Just if you get the shingle wrapper in at your yard or somebody turns around in the driveway, call me.
Yep.
That's all it was. There was no pitch to it. Then the day of the build, like this is a pro tip that I'll throw to everybody out there, right? So go in there and door hang the whole neighborhood first thing in the morning, like between 9 and 10 o'clock. Go back at 6 o'clock. Don't hit every door, just where that door hanger's gone, hit that door because they're home. Like save some time. Well, like 30 people out of 100 will be home, right? So those are the minimal things out of the 500,000, and $1 million. Like you can do those things easily now. To go from that to answer the question, go from 1 to 5. What I see is, first things first, is the business owner is going to have to be willing to make the same money at $1 million as what he does at 5. Right. So that's the first things first, because you're not going to make any more money because you got to invest in people, product, time, tech.
Yep.
You got to invest. So if you're making $200,000 a year as an owner at $1 million, and you're not willing to stay at that level until you get to 5, 7, 9, you're not going to make it, because once you get the greed set in that you can't hire the right people, pay what it's worth, and then you wind up, you got a business. So that's the first thing is be ready to make what you're making now and invest over the next 2 to 3 years to get to that $5 million level, because you got to invest. It's time, it's people, it's marketing. But on the marketing side, do what you're still doing, right? So like if you're doing the Facebook ads and the postcards and the door hangers, like as the grassroots approach is the way I look at it. The Facebook is just digital door knocking. That's all it is in my mind, right? If you do it right, stick with that stuff. Start, putting in stuff like TV, billboards, the higher end stuff. Of course, that you got to have a website that converts. You got to have a good SEO company, good PPC campaigns, good LSA guys. All that makes sense. That would be the first step. Would make sure the website's on point, the PPCs there, LSA, and then go to TV and some multimedia stuff. The mass media stuff.
And it's layering it then, right? Now everything is layered on top of each other. The TV ad is running. They drive by the billboard. Their neighbor gets signs in their yard, trucks in the neighborhood, door hangers are on the doors. Now they get home, they see a Facebook ad on their phone. Then a postcard arrives in there. Like it
everywhere.
They cannot ignore your brand. right?
Well,
Like they
yeah,
can't just, it's that old, I think it's an old advertising rule of seven. Like they have to see you at least 7 times to even recognize you, right? Like to even, that it even
exactly.
registers with them, right?
Yeah, well, so think of McDonald's, right? So my
Yeah.
grandson, he's 2.5. He can talk and stuff now, but you drive by the Golden Arches and he points. It's like, because it's branding. That's all it is
Branding.
branding. He knows the brand. And it's so elementary to think about it that way, right? They don't do anything over the top. They just got some billboards out here. They've got Facebook ads going. They've got postcards you come to you. They're on TV, right? Right. And that's the brand. You've got two. I mean, he's 2.5 and he already knows a McDonald's brand.
Yeah.
It's that elementary. And then Adam Sand always says, sheep don't eat complicated grass. You got to keep it simple. It just got to be right in your face. It's got to be the same thing, and it's consistency.
Yeah. That consistency over time. This is what I get all the time is, if we started doing this stuff today, how long does it take? Because really these owners are worried about how long before they see a return on investment in a lot of this stuff, right? But I think that's where you made the point. If you're at the million, if you're willing to make the same money at the million as you are at 5, now you're not worried about how much can you take out. I think that's a great point, man. Like, as we see that top line grow, a lot of times it's like, oh, owner's draw coming.
Yeah, and that's it. I mean, you see new boats, new houses,
That's right.
new everything.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, honestly, like the hardest growth stretch that I've seen with companies I've been with and we consult with is really that 2.5 to 4.5. Like,
Okay.
that is the growth, because it's production, it's cash flow, but if they're willing to make the investment in themselves and live, like Gary Vee says, like live like you're back in an apartment. Like if you're
That's right.
willing to work on the business that way, and everybody else eats first, right? And if you eat last, you will have a business in 3 to 5 years that is going to be a revenue king for you. I mean, it's going to be a profit center.
Yeah.
But if you take the profit out now, that's where you're going to just start. We're starting, even with us, with the rebrand, right? Because we had to rebrand.
Yep.
We had a name as Meredith, but it was still the same thing. I got here that we were doing 4.5 million, right? But we were doing that and everything. You know what I mean? And so it was scary to lose $3 million in your sales to cutting out all these categories. Now what do you do? So it was similar. You know what I mean? So it's like, and I've been there with other companies, but it was simpler because it's scary to think, well, I've got, the 4.5 here. I'm cutting out 3 million. We're starting over at 1.5 million of guaranteed revenue because of just our name. How do you get back to 9, right? How do you get to 10? And so, we went from that 4.5 to, I think, 8.5 last year in the middle of COVID. And then we'll probably, strategically grow to about 10 this year. So, but it's strategic growth too. So that's the thing. It's
Exactly.
Like, make sure you got the people in place. So.
Yeah. And that's where those decisions get made, but the pipeline has to get filled first, really. And then you can go, okay, now we gotta, work on the next things. And so the next thing, you'd said, your salespeople, your salespeople are responsible for doing the door hangers, doing that with all the jobs that they have.
Yeah. So,
okay.
So they're responsible for referrals, networking, and canvassing. We have a 2-to-1 ratio, and right now it's actually 3-to-1. So it's 2 company leads per 1 salesperson lead. Right now it's 3-to-1 because it's just a season. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I try to keep a 2-to-1, like, and to be more effective and close effectively. My guys run a max of 2 appointments a day. Like 2 is where it needs to be at. Right now, they're running 2.5 to 3. I say half because we need to divide it out. But it's 3 a day because they just get burnt out, man.
Yeah, for sure. So your marketing is working. Now your sales team, I think sales is that next thing. So how have you dialed in that sales process? What do you guys do on the sales side of things that you feel is the most effective?
Lather, rinse, repeat, man. That's all there is to it, buddy. You just every week, all we do is role play. the most important part about sales, it's like my favorite thing is I don't hire inside of the roofing industry very often. All my guys came from Sonic. We're a lawn care guy. I've got an old pressure washing guy. I'm trying to think. I got a coal miner that works for us now. Like I pull out of basically personality. And most of our staff is actually under the age of 30. So like most of my guys that come on board, and we don't have any turnover. I mean, that's the cool part. But once a sales guy gets here, he stays. But I'd say that my average sales guy age right now is 27. So we find competitive guys, right? The guys that want to get in there, athletes, that are solid in who they are and what they do. And just, I mean, that's it, man. Lather, rinse, repeat. I mean, you just stick to the same process, the program every time. So all they got to do is go in there and have a good personality, follow the process, follow the presentation, follow the close, and then close. So, and then with that said too, is like our closing has always been in the 40s, the mid 40s, which is pretty good. I mean, historically that's really good. But when we started adding in other products like repairs and rejuvenations and some other things that we're doing, now my guys are closing in the upper 50s and lower 60s because they've got other things to close, and that winning breeds more winning and it's momentum. So
that's for sure. That's what salespeople always need wins, right?
Have wins.
The easiest time to close someone is after you just close someone, right? It's
100%.
Like, you just feel it, right? It's just, that energy helps. So having them be able to do that. So in your sales process, you're leading in sometimes you're one of the few companies that I know that does repair work, right? Like it blows my mind every time that when companies don't do repair work. And so one of the things you told me one time is like your competitors will tell people, call MHI. They'll do a repair. Like someone calls your competitor for a repair, but then you have the opportunity to not just do the repair work if you can do it, but also potentially close, change, sell a full roof replacement out of it too.
Yeah, and that was actually, I mean, all that was born out of the dollars per day mentality.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep.
So like if you think about a roofing crew with 8 guys on it, then I'm making $1,000 a day on 8 guys. Right. Or I can go make $3,000 a day on 2 guys.
Yeah.
It's like when you think about the money with that, it just doesn't make sense. So repairs is the profit center.
Yeah, when we were talking about this earlier, I wrote it down, like a 10K replacement, 8 to 14% net, right? You're two, but on 7K, you're shooting for 7K on that replacement crew, and you're talking about $2,300 to $2,500 a day. So that's like a 30% net. Like that's 30% in your pocket. Right.
And that's paying the sales guys 15 to 20% on the sale. Yeah. That's paying pretty good.
Yeah.
So, that's all the overhead, all the marketing, all that stuff. And the reason is too, is like, when you think about your cost, on the CPA of this, right, is going after repair leads. I mean, we had this conversation before, but they're lower, they're cheaper, but at the end of the day, it's people in their mind are expecting a repair.
Yeah.
Right. And so when they call 5 or 6 other people, and they say, I don't do repairs, only replacements. When they call us, say, yeah, we'll come look at it. We get there within a day. We look at it, but unfortunately, it's not repairable. They don't call anybody else. Like it's not even like I'm going to get other estimates. It's like, let's get it done because we were willing to be there and repair it. And actually, honestly, we prefer to repair it and rejuvenate it because we're going to make more money on it than if I was. And then when you look at the customer acquisition down the road, my lifetime customer value. So if I'm able to do repairs and rejuvenation, and then they need a roof in 5, 10, 15 years, they call us back because we save them money on the front end, right? And we were willing to be there and to do the repair. So. That's the thing, man. It's like they don't call anybody else once you do that.
Yeah. We have like in our agency, we have clients that, a lot of our clients only want roof replacements. and they get frustrated a lot of times, or they'll get frustrated sometimes when people are calling for roof repairs.
Also, best lead.
And I'm like, so the thing about that is when they go to Google, a lot of people don't type in, a lot of people type in roof repair, but a lot of people will just type in roofer near me, roofing company near me, best roofing company, Pittsburgh, something like that, because they think that roofing companies do repair work, right?
Exactly.
Now, what I love about what you're saying is they've already called these other 5 people and everyone said no. Now you go out there and I think it's like 50% of people, there's like sales statistics studies that they've done. It's 50% of people go with the first person that shows up. And it's probably more than that, right? Like
on the repair side, yes.
On the repair side, they can't get 100%. Anyone else out there.
So, 100%, yeah.
So they don't even have to they don't have an opportunity to get 3 bids, right? So one of the things, the challenges that I see that is that, roofing is done through subcontracted labor, and a roofing crew would rather do a replacement. They don't want to do the repairs. So the company would have to manage and hire an in-house roofing crew to be able to manage repair work. Is that what you guys are doing?
We have a mixture of that, but yeah, It's a hybrid version. But yes, I've got 2 in-house crews and 2 actual, sub crews. And what we did with the sub crews is it was a couple of crews that said, I'm just tired of beating my brains out. And we went to them and said, hey, listen, how much are you wanting to make a day? What's your dollars per day? Well, give me 2 guys and I'll pay you $1,000 a day, and you got to do X amount of revenue. And they're like, yeah, let's do it. So pay them well. I'm paying 2 guys $1,000 a day to go do two repair and rejuvenations, but I'm making, 3,000, 2,500. So I've got no complaints. They show up, they do it right every time. They slow down, they take their time because they know that they've got guaranteed work and they can work 7 days a week. I don't care. Right. So you can do it with that. Just find a good, maybe you got a good crew that the crew leader and his lead guy are great, but he has problems keeping people, right? And maybe they just keep falling off and his work goes downhill because of that. Go talk to him. Say, hey man, listen, I'll help you out, right? We'll buy you a truck that you pay us back over time for, or whatever it is. Like, you can lease it off of us until it's paid off or whatever. Like, make them a true sub.
Yeah.
And just go after it that way. There's so many different ways to actually make that happen. So
yeah, that's awesome. And I think it's so overlooked.
It is.
And I really think of it as just in the psychology of the homeowner. Homeowners don't know. They don't know what they need.
No, not at all.
They see some damage, or they see a shingle missing. They see a water spot in their ceiling in the kitchen. Like, they just know roof's leaking, or
and that's where we came up with, my partner Ty and I, we came up with an ugly roof
that's right
product, right?
Yep.
So we started out with that because there's a need for repairs and rejuvenation. So we call it refresh, repair, restore. So we clean the roof, we repair the roof, and we restore the roof. So we spent a ton of money for market testing to see if we could go direct to the consumer as its own brand standalone. What we found in the Florida market especially was that 80% of our sales came from the MHI side. So now we partner with other roofing companies who are, who have a repair, team, have that already going, have that mentality to where we can actually go in there and repair the roof, rejuvenate the roof. And when I'm talking about like rejuvenation, like there's a lot of times where, the roof itself is kind of brittle, but we can go in there and spray the product on there, and then it loosens right up and it's pliable again. Yeah. Now you can do a proper repair. So, some of my storm guys are going to hate us for it, but at the end of the day, like, it's what's doing right for the consumer. And if they would see the actual dollars that they could make versus having to fight with the insurance company for hours and days on end on wind damage, like, you make more money on a $3,000 repair and rejuvenation than fighting to get a $15,000 roof. Yeah. When you think about your time involved in turnover, like I sell it, I install it tomorrow, right? So it's not even like I've got to wait 3 weeks, 8 weeks on the insurance company. Like, what is that worth, right? What is that value worth? So that's why that, instead of fighting it, like we're kind of going the other way with it, is embracing it on wind damage. Now, hail damage, it is what it is.
That's right.
But at the end of the day, too, like only 30% of these roofs actually qualify, because when you think about shingles, it's not about time, it's about weather and installation. So what has this shingle seen over the past 10 years, 12 years? Was it properly installed? A lot of times it might be improperly installed and you can't repair or rejuvenate it. So you got to replace it. So we're talking about 30% of the time, not 80%, 90%, but 30% of the time you can actually repair and rejuvenate these roofs. So.
Yeah, that's awesome. And that's so this has kind of been another iteration of your guys' business, right? So
yeah,
Meredith Home Improvement to MHI Roofing, focusing down just into roofing, building that. And that's kind of, I love it, because it's a lot of times you'll see opportunities in your market as a business owner, and you go, wow, maybe we can make something out of that. So that's kind of what you guys did. And so, the other brand that you guys have is Ugly Roof, right? And you started that as as you said, as a separate entity to do these roof rejuvenations. Is that what it was?
Yeah, that's the way it started. And it didn't fail miserably, but it failed direct to consumer with the product. So we brought it back in house and said, how do we get this to the consumer? Because we know the process is great. And then we're sitting there like, hey, listen, we had no problems, sales wise, when MHI was selling the product and the process. So that's when we started up dealerships. So now we have 15 to 16 with the dealers now across just basically the East Coast right now, and we're going nationwide with it now. But so we go in and help roofing contractors who have a sales team who are mainly retail focused and do storms as well. And we set them up with the trailer, with everything they need, get them the oil or the juice, as we call it in house, right? We send them out the juice. We go out. We had a big guy that we set up yesterday that they bought 2 trailers and they're going crazy, right? I mean, they're just killing it. But they're trying to do same day repair and rejuvenation. So like that's their
okay.
It's going to be a logistical endeavor, but we're trying to be 1 to 2 days out. But it's one of those things. It becomes a profit and revenue driving stream that you're just making money on. And at the end of the day, it's about being able to help the contractor make more money and help the homeowner make a good decision. Like a job that we did Monday, Chuck Toki, actually, he came into town and was observing a couple of these jobs with us. And we did 2 jobs. And the cool part was it was 2 hours each, right? In and out. And it was the homeowners. So the first homeowner, we're actually repairing and rejuvenating his roof, but we also sold him a new roof on his own personal house he just bought. So he's trying to sell one house, and it literally had leaks in the along the ridge vent, right? So it didn't need a new roof. I mean the roof was 14 years old, but it was already starting to get brittle. So we went in there, sprayed it, and we went out with this morning, and it's already flexible. It's already ready to go. It's sealed back down. Everything's good to go. So the homeowner is totally ecstatic about it. So
yeah, and that's that developing that long-term relationship, right? Now,
correct.
So I think so now with Ugly Roof, now you're providing this for other contractors. So for contractors that want to add this element to their business, what is a good fit for you in that regard? Who are you, you had mentioned someone that already has some things going.
Yeah. I mean, so a lot of times because of the investment and it's an education lift, right?
Yeah.
It's just understanding what the product is, what the marketing does. Just by having the product, like in our arsenal at MHI, like we're able to market in a different way. Like we're going after repairs only, right? Like we want to get that repair only lead. but I've got a repair team. I've got the rejuvenation team. But the
Yep.
guys that really get it, that are in our network already, usually have a sales team of 5+ sales guys, have a process, have a repair team. Usually they're already at that $3 to $4 million range. Because it scares a lot of guys on the bottom is, hey, it's a new product, it's a new thing, it's a new this.
Yeah.
A lot of guys that run the business and don't run in the business, but work on the business, they get it because they see that dollars per day per crew. And then that's the easiest way to go after it. So guys who want to invest, and listen, I mean, the biggest difference between us and the competitors, right, is we go directly with roofing contractors. I mean, there's other guys in the rejuvenation space that do what we do, but we go to the roofing contractor exclusively. I don't sell to a pressure washer. I don't sell to anybody else. I want a guy that understands, for the consumer side of things, what needs to happen with this roof. They know how to do an inspection. They're insured as a roofer, right? They have experience as a roofing contractor first, because my end goal as a consumer needs to be taken care of. And this just becomes a bolt-on business where they can have a profit center, and it's just like we said, it's customer retention, So, but I mean, I'd say that's the ultimate. I mean, that's the ultimate avatar, right? Is a guy sales team. It's already there, but it's just it's been a neat journey with it. I mean, to watch guys when the light bulb goes off, it's like, nice.
Yeah. And I think it's I think it's great. I've spoken to, some owners of some of the competitors' franchises that you mentioned. And it, to a lot of times they're not roofers, right?
No.
And so, they're up there doing the roof rejuvenation and things like that, but it's not as, I like that concept of like now, because sometimes these people do need a replacement. Right. So being able to identify that, and being able to identify, yep, we're beyond repair here. Right. And then having the right process to get them what they really actually need. But then on the other side, what I like about it is that you said is that, sometimes they don't need the replacement.
Right.
Right. And so it really is something that I bet people feel that. I bet homeowners feel that when you're out there talking to them, when your salespeople are talking to them. You know what I mean? Like it's not as they feel like they're getting what they need and not being sold what the company would rather do.
Right, exactly. And that's the beauty of it, right? Is it really is a trust factor. It is the brand of that local roofing contractor, right? So Ugly Roof brand is cool. It's fun. It's exciting. We've hired some big names to do some video with production stuff to get the fun part out there, right?
Yeah.
But when it comes down to trust, it's just like what you're talking about. The homeowner trusts MHI. They have no idea what Ugly Roof is. They don't know who the GAF guys are, the Owens Corning guys are. It becomes a product, and for us, like the exclusive the territories and areas, we give a 500,000 population footprint. That's pretty big, where the competitors are 100,000, right? And you'd have to buy 5 of these territories to have the same footprint, because 100,000 people is just not enough. That's not a lot. Not as a roofing contractor, because I've already got a big footprint, right? So that's where we change up how we sell the footprints. But it comes down to, it's their brand, right? It's the MHI brand. So when we walk into the door, it's MHI. They've trusted us for 42 years in Pittsburgh. So when it comes down to integrity and trust, the cool part is that sure, the contractor makes as much or more on that repair and rejuvenation, but at the end of the day, they're actually doing the right thing with the homeowner, because they don't need a new roof. They don't need to spend, $15,000 when they can spend $30,000. So at the end of the day, in my mind, when you build that trust and that integrity around that with that product base, it comes down to just what you said. When we walk into the home, we have the opportunity to persuade people, right? But in a benevolent way, and say, this is what you need to do, right? You don't need a new roof, right? But you need to do something because your roof is getting old, right? So that's the approach. I mean, it's really doing the right thing for the consumer. That's why we go after the roofing contractor first,
Yeah.
is because they get that. They know if it's installed properly. If you just got a bunch of guys just selling oil, right, and just spraying oil, they don't care. They just want to get the oil in there because that sells.
That's right.
That's their first line of profit. That's not a secondary line of profit. Ours is the secondary line of profit to the roofing contractor, but it increases their closing. Because like on repair, so I'll back up real quick. Sorry. When you asked about repair leads earlier, our closing percentage on repair leads, now this is repair, rejuvenation, and replacement, but just on that lead is 75% closure rate. I'm selling them something where if I get a replacement call, right? So think of the mentality of the homeowner. When they're, I need a new roof, they're going to get 3 estimates, right? Yeah. So my closing there is still in the low 40s, right? But we've been able to increase our overall closing rates to the high 50s and low 60s because we offer repairs, and it might be a replacement that we sell 70% of the time.
Yeah, that's amazing to get those numbers up like that. And it's a lot of it is because it's. I would think of it too that people maybe have it more as an emergency. They feel like it's more of an emergency service. Like I see that in like, plumbing and HVAC and stuff like that, man. When your AC is out and it's the middle of summer and it's hot, the first person that shows up, yes, fix it now. Right.
Exactly.
And so do you think that there's a kind of a psychological thing with the homeowner too, that they feel more urgency in that?
100%. Yeah. And that's why the HVAC space is so dominant in the financing space as well.
Yeah.
Because they show up, say, listen, I can't get this part anymore. I mean, they financed 94%, I think was whenever I saw of all transactions. Wow. It's crazy. I mean, that and credit cards are 94 combined. Right. But we work in the roofing space where we think it's all cash based. All my customers are cash based. No, you're getting it wrong, man. It's like a roofing space is like 5 to 8% now is finance, and that's it. Like we're missing a huge opportunity to be there first, right? To offer the repair, to make money off of the repair, and then if they don't qualify, sell them a new roof, man.
Yeah.
Right. But to turn the lead down on the front end is asinine. I love it personally, and I don't care to share my secret sauce because most guys are too lazy to go do it.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, it's sad to say, but they're lazy. 98% of the guys going to listen is going to say I'm crazy.
Yeah. People want the easy path a lot of times. Right. And so maybe do you feel, is there more management on that side? Is it something that's a little, is there more management on that side because it's, more?
Not really. It's about the same
jobs, I guess.
It's about the same. So
yeah.
It's not more management at all. I mean, there is some nuisance in I got to get one bundle of this shingle or one bundle of that, and you can't. But it's not really, but because you just tell the crew, go to Beacon, ABC, SRS, and pick this up. You know what I mean? On your way to your next job, or they load up a night before, or we have a runner that goes and does all the shopping the night before and has it at the office. Like that's worked the best, right? Here's job 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Like. Yep. You take 1, 2 with you, and like it makes it a lot easier. So it's not really any harder, but there's more money to be made. But they see it as a low ticket item, right? I would much rather stay at 9 to 10 million, right, in the Pittsburgh market, and do 6 million in and replacements and repairs and rejuvenation because I'm going to make more money than that.
That's right. There's more net profit in that. So let's just quickly, let's touch on that because that's something that, the low ticket, right? They don't want to do that $250, how have you guys managed, what is your average ticket on a repair rejuvenation?
It's $2,700.
Yeah. So that's not like, it's not it's not what people like, this is, so how, I guess, how do you get to that point, right? Because that doesn't sound like repair numbers, I guess, right?
So it's simple, Jim. It's simple. They're bleeding now.
Yeah.
Right. So you got to think of it that way. And it's not that we're taking advantage of the customer. We're providing a great service, right?
That's right.
But they're bleeding now. So when it comes down to this repair with rejuvenation, if they're bleeding now, I'll put a temporary repair on there with the sales guy, right? He'll put a piece of felt over the areas blown off or whatever. The repair team comes out day 1 or 2. After that, maybe 3 to 4, depends on what it is, right? And the workload. But we're usually there within 5 days, and we stop the bleeding now with something that's temporary. And then you send out the crew who tears that section out, right? And they repair it and they rejuvenate. It comes down with rejuvenation part. This is where everybody kind of, well, like even homeowners, well, I just need the repair. Well, listen, so I could do the repair, but at the end of the day, I'm doing you a disservice because you're going to call me back in 6 months. And let me show you why. And then you show them how their shingles are brittle. So this is just going to keep happening to blow up because they're not sealed down anymore. But if I rejuvenate this, I make them pliable and they stick down, right? So this will lessen that repair call every 6 months because you got a shingle blown up, right? So we're actually doing them a service. It actually costs them less to do it right the first time, right? That's everything in life.
So it's really adding the rejuvenation side to the repair that gets the ticket up a little bit higher.
Correct. Yep. That's how you get up. But even as repair and rejuvenation tickets,
that's right.
That's the overall numbers.
That
27 to 2,800.
Yep. That makes perfect sense because you're now, and it's the right thing to do, like you're saying, to get, because the shingles are brittle and things like that, where you're getting them to in a better condition so that right. It's not, hey, we need to come back. 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 And that's why a lot of people don't like doing repairs, is because they can't warranty them. This is the next thing all the time. They have to. So that's an insight right there for everyone listening, like that. It's the combination that allows you to get the ticket higher and to not be frustrated when they call back and they say, hey, this is not working or something like that.
Well, and it's just like on heating and air sales, just like you said earlier, right? So I had a short stint with HVAC company for a year. I took a 1-year contract just to help them with their sales.
Yep.
But HVAC contractors make more money on service calls than they do on new installs. It's the same thing, right? Because it's an emergency service. I need it now. It's instant gratification, right? And when you can bolt on, so like when it came to service calls, if you could bolt on a April Air HRV and put it in there for an extra $2,300 while we're here, they made more money with that. And it was still doing the service to the homeowner. Hey, listen, like, you need better fresh air coming into the house. Let's get the HRV or the ERV and let's plug it in. It's $2,300. I got one in the truck.
That's right.
A new thermostat. Let's upgrade the thermostat for, $500, right?
That's right.
Right. It's so like that became like the upsell, and that's when a light went off about 10 years ago in my mind. Like, like people will pay for it because it's an emergency, but you can bolt on stuff while you're there.
Yes.
And it's really a good service because you're giving them things that they need that they won't have to call anybody else back, right?
Yep.
That makes sense. So
sure.
That's the same thing in roofing. Like if you do it right the first time, they won't call you back because that spot's still leaking, right? So charge enough to make them happy. That's my motto, right? I'm going to charge that with that homeowner just enough money to make them happy. Because if I charge them too much, only I'm happy. If we don't charge them enough, nobody's happy because I'm going to take shortcuts. I've got to do something to make money, right?
That's awesome. That's a great one, man. Charge them enough money so that everyone's happy.
Exactly.
Awesome, man. What do you think the greatest insight is that you can share with our audience that has helped, you guys find success in roofing?
The best insight I have would be, man, it's process building, man. It's build a process, stick to it. If you don't know how to do it, like that's the first thing that you got to do is you got to hire somebody that does. It's just when you think about the Rockefellers, like, his epitaph says, here lies a man smart enough to hire somebody else smarter than him. Right. So that's what you got to be able to do is don't be afraid to hire and pay the person what they owe. That goes back to that $1 million to $5 million stretch is you have to be able to afford to hire people smarter than yourself to grow the business. Because when we get stuck in that egotistical I'm it, I can do it, nobody else is better than me mentality, you're going to fail. That's just all there is to it. Like, you have to be humble enough to say, I know nothing about marketing. I got to hire a guy, and I got to pay him $100,000 a year because I want the best in my industry, right? In my market, like, you have to have that mentality. That would be my thing, I guess.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's awesome. For those of you that are looking to add on some business, check out Ugly Roof. John, thanks for all of the insights today, man. I think people are going to find a lot of value in it. This has been another episode of the Roofing Success Podcast. If you would like to generate more sales through your digital marketing efforts, please visit roofermarketers.com and get a copy of the book, Internet Marketing for Roofing Contractors: How to Triple Your Sales and Turn Your Roofing Website into an Online Lead Generation Machine. Also, check the training section of the website for guides on everything from running effective pay-per-click ads to how to properly set up your Google My Business listing. This has been another episode of the Roofing Success Podcast. Thanks for listening.